All right, Parker, Jake Epstein here, and congrats on winning the free analysis. I have a clip of Tatis that we're going to use as a comparison because it's a high pitch and it matches up really well with kind of what you're doing on this high pitch. We always want to try to compare pitch locations if we can. Just made him left-handed, so that's why it looks a little funky. But let's go ahead and break this down from the beginning. Okay, it was a great video you sent in. Good clarity, good angle for us to see everything. So one of the things I really like is as you load your hands, you're loading your foot. A lot of people will load their hands late. So when their front foot comes up, the foot will come up, but then the hands really don't lift until after. So I really like what you're doing. A lot of times I'll tell players, pretend there's a string going from the heel to the knob, and as you load your hands up and back, it's going to pull your front foot up off the ground to start your stride. So that's really good. As we continue this would be considered your style and your rhythm. Okay, so everything that happens before heel plant is considered rhythm. Your technique's going to start right around launch here, right around heel plant. So I want you to take notice of your front foot. Okay, so we have a little bit of a sequencing issue here. If we look at your front foot is off the ground, so your front heel is off the ground, but I want you to watch your upper body. You can see is starting to open. So when your front heel lands, I would say that's close to landing all the way. Your heel's almost on the ground. Look how far your body has rotated. If we look at Tatis here, he's going to get to toe touch. He's going to get to heel plant. This is what starts our lower body. Okay, once our front foot starts to come down and this back knee starts to pinch in, our hips are going to rotate. So you can see your shoulders and hips kind of go at the same time. So if you look at that and you look at that, your left shoulder and your left hip, see how they're kind of going at the same time. We don't really have much separation. And we want to measure that separation right around the time your foot's landing. So that's a little bit of a power loss, and more importantly, it's an adjustability issue. So Tatis could get here where his foot lands, his legs start to go, but because his hands are back, if this is an off-speed pitch, if it's a slider, if it's a changeup, he can buy himself a little time. Even if his legs leak, he's okay because his shoulders and his hands are back. So it's very important to work on that and to make sure that we're getting our foot down with our hands back. Now, it doesn't mean to get your foot down for a complete second before your swing starts. We have to try to build that in. So the drills that I use, I do like a stride isolation drill where we're trying to get our feet into position, but we're trying to keep our hands back. Keep your hands back up against a wall here as your lower body engages. Okay? So that's number one. That's going to help you for your future. You're young and you're okay, and this is very common for your age, but it doesn't mean that we can't try to fix it. Now, if we look at your swing plane, you have a very, very level swing plane, okay? And by level, I mean to the ground. If we put somewhat of a line on it, here's a horizontal line to the ground, 0 degrees. That's about what you are. So I'll be honest, on a high fastball that's probably moving 90 to 95 miles an hour, a 0-degree attack angle would be pretty great, okay? The issue is you're not facing that speed right now. The pitches are probably going to be coming down roughly on that angle. So that would be, let me draw a different direction here. So if this is the pitch, you're trying to hit, it's probably going to be coming down at your age, say 10 or 12 degrees, okay? And so what happens is if we're a little bit early, we might actually cut underneath that ball. And if we're late and we hit it back here, you're probably going to hit the top of it. So this is the opposite of a barrel dump. This is actually fantastic. I love the fact that you're too level at your age, okay? It's way easier to get somebody to start to come up through the ball than it is somebody that drops their barrel, dumps their barrel, swings up too much, and we're trying to fix that, okay? So why is that happening? Well, one of the reasons is we can adjust our spine to help with that, okay? So let's bring you to your short approach position. This is a short approach, and since we're using Tatis here, notice how his lead arm, this is a pitch that's middle in, up and in. Notice how his lead arm straightens out a little bit, okay? It's okay. If your front arm bars out a little bit, it's okay. It's when does it bar out? Does it bar out when we start to rotate, or does it bar out in our load? His gets pretty straight in his load, so we're okay. As he rotates, because now all of a sudden he can pull his hands back out in front and create some space from there to there, okay? So don't be overly concerned with arm bar. We can see as you go to rotate, see how your arm kind of does the same thing. Let's see if I can bring his upper body to about the same position. Pretty close there, right? What's awesome about your swing is that that knob is in front of this elbow. That knob is in front of this elbow. That, for somebody your age, puts you probably in the top 10% of players your age mechanically. Sometimes it goes away with players. Usually it doesn't, and unfortunately they struggle, and then they find other sports to play. So this first move, the first like 12 inches of the hand path, are totally crucial for your barrel success, you finding barrels, okay? And you can see, I mean, it's pretty good. This guy's really good on the left, and you're matching up really well with him, okay? So now we're going to bring him to his approach position, okay? The approach is when the bat's about parallel to the batter's box line. I'm going to bring you to the same position, right about there. So you can see your hands are just a little bit higher. Now, that pitch is higher too. That's probably the reason why. Now what I want you to watch is your left elbow, okay? So if we watch your left arm here, you can see that elbow's out in front a little bit, and it stays bent. See how that left arm stays bent? When that left arm stays bent, you're going to continue to spin and rotate. So when you hit this ball, your bat is on an angle like this, but your shoulders are on an angle like this. So you've over-rotated this pitch. So my concern would be more for middle away pitches for you. Middle in, allows you to rotate a little bit more. Watch how his shoulders start to decelerate a little bit, and when he hits this, way out in front, his bat is like this, but see how his shoulders are slightly behind that line? Where your shoulders are ahead of that line that I just goofed up a little bit. All right, right there. So what the plan would be for you would be to do some upper body isolation stuff. Because you rotate pretty well with your body, we need to make sure your arms and hands are working correctly, okay? We don't want, at young ages, young players, we're not real strong with our arms, so we just spin, right? We turn our shoulders as fast as we can, and sometimes that creates problems. Now, one other thing I want you to take notice of is going to be this back foot. I touched on your posture, right, and your spine angle at contact. So if we look at it, if I draw kind of a line through your upper body, it looks like this. At contact, if I draw a line kind of through his, you can see through his back, he's tilted rearward. Now, remember, if we tilt our body rearward and rotate behind the ball from a vertical axis, so if that's vertical, whatever this angle is in here, say 5 or 6 degrees, you're going to end up swinging up 5 or 6 degrees based on just your posture. So for you, without really changing your hand path or your swing plane, if we can get your body position to sit back here, you're going to be more on plane. Pretty easy adjustment, right? We don't have to rework the entire system here. Now, one of the reasons is because as you're rotating and this foot isn't on the ground, there's nothing to brace yourself from going forward. So watch your nose here. See how it drifts forward? And when your nose drifts forward, the back of your spine drifts forward, and then your posture gets upright, okay? So one of the things I want you to work on, and then you can see this back foot kind of pop up off the ground. That's not the worst thing in the world, but for you it is because your spine goes forward. We actually looked at one of the other players that won the contest. His back foot comes up higher, but his body stays back, so he's okay more. So the two things I want you to work on, number one, keeping your head back. Actually, let's retrace that. Number one, keeping your hands back and your upper body back at heel plant. Okay, so this position here, getting to that position. Number two will be getting more weight back here in your left shin and knee. Okay, that's going to help keep your head back. Keep our head back. That's going to keep our swing plane where it should be. And then the last thing is going to be to finish this left arm. Okay, let that left arm extend all the way through, because as the hands start to extend, that's going to decelerate your upper body automatically. All right, so appreciate you sending in clips. Hope this was beneficial for you. I know there was a lot of stuff in there. But isolate those moves, take it slow. It's kind of how I work with all my teaching system, is one step at a time. We don't want to overcomplicate things. We want to focus on this move first. Let's master this move. Then we can start working on the top hand. Then we can work on sitting back a little bit more. And then by the time we're done, we can stack those pieces and be on our way.